What if I told you the story they buried, the story they laughed at, the story they thought was finished, was only the beginning? They celebrated too early. They saw your silence and called it weakness. They watched you disappear and assumed you were defeated. They turned the page, closed the book, and convinced themselves they had seen the final chapter. But they were wrong. Because while the world was busy writing your ending, you were secretly becoming something they could never understand. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every moment they doubted you, every door slammed in your face. It wasn't destroying you, it was building you. The truth is, the greatest transformations don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in the darkness. They happen when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody believes, and that's where legends are born. The people who counted you out are about to witness something they never expected. The version of you they created in their minds is about to collide with the reality of who you've become. This isn't a comeback story. This is a story about awakening power that was hidden all along. So if you're ready to discover what happens when pain becomes strength, when rejection becomes fuel, and when the underestimated become unstoppable, then stay with me. Because the story they thought was over, the real story is just beginning. They looked at your silence and made a decision about who you were. They saw you step away from the noise, and they assumed you had given up. They watched you stop explaining yourself, stop defending yourself, stop chasing approval, and they thought they had figured you out. In their minds, silence meant weakness, silence meant fear, silence meant defeat. But what most people fail to understand is that silence is often where the greatest transformations begin. The world is obsessed with appearances. People want to see progress immediately. They want announcements, explanations, and constant updates. They want proof that something is happening. If they cannot see movement, they assume nothing is changing. If they cannot hear your plans, they believe you have none. That is why so many people underestimate the quiet ones. They do not realize that while they are busy talking, someone else is busy building. Every powerful comeback starts in a place nobody notices. It starts in the early mornings when everyone else is sleeping. It starts in the late nights when nobody is watching. It starts in the moments when a person makes a decision that changes everything. A decision to stop complaining. A decision to stop seeking validation. A decision to stop proving themselves to people who already made up their minds. That decision creates a different kind of energy. Instead of wasting time explaining your dreams, you begin working on them. Instead of arguing with doubters, you begin outgrowing them. Instead of reacting to every opinion, you begin focusing on your mission. And that is where real power begins, because power is not always loud. Power does not always announce itself. Power does not always walk into a room demanding attention. Sometimes power is a person sitting alone, improving themselves while the world assumes they are failing. Sometimes power is discipline. Sometimes power is patience. Sometimes power is the ability to keep moving forward without applause. The truth is that most people need an audience. They need recognition to stay motivated. They need compliments to stay focused. They need approval to feel valuable. But when you learn to operate without those things, you become dangerous. You begin to understand that your worth is not connected to someone else's opinion. You realize that your future does not depend on their belief. You stop asking for permission to become who you were meant to be, and that changes everything. Because once you stop living for approval, you become free to take risks, free to make mistakes, free to learn, free to grow, free to evolve into someone stronger than you have ever been. Many people never reach their potential because they spend their entire lives trying to be understood. They explain every move. They justify every decision. They constantly seek acceptance from people who cannot see their vision. Meanwhile, the people who achieve extraordinary things understand something important. Not everyone needs to understand your journey. Not everyone needs to believe in your dream. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. Some goals grow better in silence. Some victories are built in private. Some transformations happen far away from public attention. Think about the strongest version of yourself. That person is not created during easy times. That person is created when nobody is cheering, when life becomes difficult, when obstacles appear, when disappointment strikes, when doors close, when expectations collapse. Those moments force you to discover what is truly inside you. Anyone can feel confident when everything is going well. Anyone can stay motivated when success comes easily. But it takes a different level of character to continue moving forward when the world gives you no reason to believe. That is where hidden strength is born. Every challenge becomes a training ground. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every lonely moment becomes an opportunity to grow. The people around you may not notice the changes immediately. They may still see the old version of you. They may still judge you based on your past. They may still think they know your limits. But they are looking at an outdated picture. Because while they were watching who you used to be, you were becoming someone new. A stronger mind, a tougher spirit, a sharper focus, a deeper understanding of yourself. The beautiful thing about silent growth is that it surprises everyone, including you. One day you realize the things that used to break you no longer affect you. The opinions that once controlled you no longer matter. The fears that once stopped you no longer have power over you. The obstacles that once looked impossible now look small. Not because the world changed, because you changed. And the greatest part is that nobody saw it happening. They only see the result. They see confidence where there used to be doubt. They see strength where there used to be struggle. They see determination where there used to be hesitation. They see someone they can no longer define, predict, or control. The same silence they mocked became the place where your power was created. The same quiet season they misunderstood became the foundation of your transformation. The same hidden journey they ignored became the reason you are stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. Pain has a way of changing people. It arrives without permission, without warning, and often without mercy. No one asks for it. No one wakes up hoping to be disappointed, betrayed, rejected, or broken. Yet some of the strongest people walking this earth carry stories filled with moments they never wanted to experience. The difference is not that they avoided pain. The difference is that they learned how to use it. Most people see pain as an enemy. They see it as something that ruins plans, destroys confidence, and steals happiness. They spend years trying to escape it, hide from it, or forget it ever happened. But the people who rise above their circumstances eventually discover a truth that changes everything. Pain is often preparation. The hardest moments of your life are not always there to stop you. Sometimes they are there to build you into the person capable of handling what comes next. Think about every challenge you have faced, every betrayal, every rejection, every failure, every night you questioned yourself, every moment you felt abandoned. At the time, those experiences felt unfair. They felt unnecessary. They felt like proof that life was working against you. But pain has a strange way of revealing strengths you never knew existed. Before the struggle, you may have believed you needed certain people to survive. Then they left, and somehow you kept going. Before the setback, you may have believed failure would destroy you. Then failure arrived, and somehow you survived. Before the heartbreak, you may have believed disappointment would break your spirit. Then disappointment came, and somehow you found a way forward. Each painful experience taught you something valuable, not because it felt good, not because it was easy, but because it forced growth. Growth rarely happens inside comfort. Comfort keeps people predictable. Comfort keeps people safe. Comfort keeps people exactly where they are. Pain challenges everything. It forces you to adapt. It forces you to think differently. It forces you to discover abilities you never had to use before. The strongest minds are not created through convenience. They are created through resistance. Just like a muscle grows stronger when it faces pressure, character grows stronger when it faces adversity. Every difficult season carries a lesson hidden beneath the struggle. Sometimes the lesson is patience. Sometimes the lesson is discipline. Sometimes the lesson is self-respect. Sometimes the lesson is learning who truly belongs in your life. There are people who entered your life pretending to support you, only to disappear when things became difficult. At first, their absence felt painful. You wondered why they left. You questioned your value. You replayed conversations in your mind, searching for answers. But over time, you realized something important. Their departure revealed their character, not your worth. Pain removed the mask. Pain showed you who was real. Pain exposed the people who were only present during easy seasons. And while that realization hurt, it also protected your future. Because every lesson learned through hardship becomes wisdom. Wisdom cannot be purchased. Wisdom cannot be borrowed. Wisdom must be earned. The people who have survived the toughest battles often possess a depth that cannot be taught in classrooms or found in books. They understand resilience. They understand sacrifice. They understand perseverance. They understand what it means to keep moving when everything inside them wants to quit. That understanding becomes a source of power, not loud power, not arrogant power, real power, the kind that remains steady during chaos, the kind that refuses to surrender during storms, the kind that keeps believing when circumstances suggest otherwise. Every scar carries a story. Most people try to hide their scars because they remind them of painful memories. But scars are evidence. Evidence that you survived. Evidence that you endured. Evidence that something tried to stop you and failed. The person you are today was shaped by moments that tested every part of your character. The obstacles taught you determination. The failures taught you humility. The disappointments taught you perspective. The setbacks taught you persistence. Without realizing it, each challenge was preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, and victories that require a stronger version of yourself. Many people pray for success while resisting the process that creates it. They want confidence without challenges. They want strength without struggle. They want resilience without adversity. But those qualities are not given. They are developed. They are forged through experience. They are earned through endurance. The person capable of handling great success is often someone who has already survived great difficulty, because pain teaches lessons that comfort never can. It teaches gratitude. It teaches focus. It teaches appreciation. It teaches the value of time, effort, and commitment. When you've lost something important, you learn not to take things for granted. When you've been knocked down, you learn the importance of getting back up. When you've faced darkness, you learn how valuable light truly is. The experiences that once felt like punishment often become preparation. The obstacles that once seemed unfair often become training. The disappointments that once felt unbearable often become the reason you develop the mindset necessary to achieve more than you ever imagined. One day you look back and realize that the hardest chapters of your life were not destroying you. They were shaping you. Every setback added another layer of strength. Every challenge added another layer of wisdom. Every painful moment added another layer of resilience. The struggle was teaching you how to stand when others collapse. The hardship was teaching you how to remain focused when others panic. The resistance was teaching you how to keep moving when others surrender. And while the pain was never pleasant, it was transforming you into someone stronger, wiser, tougher, and more prepared than the person who first entered the battle. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize they have been living inside a story written by other people. A story filled with limits, labels, doubts, and expectations that were never truly their own. For years they carry those words like chains. They believe what others say about them. They accept the opinions of people who never understood their potential. They begin to see themselves through the eyes of critics, doubters, and spectators. That is how many dreams die before they ever have a chance to live. Not because people lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack potential, because they allow someone else's opinion to become their reality. The world has always been quick to place limits on people. The moment you try something different, someone tells you it cannot be done. The moment you chase a bigger goal, someone reminds you of your past failures. The moment you begin believing in yourself, someone appears to question your ability. People love predicting what others cannot achieve. They look at where you are and assume they know where you will end up. They look at your struggles and assume they know your future. They look at your mistakes and assume they know your limits. But human potential has never been measured by current circumstances. Some of the greatest transformations in history began with people who were underestimated. People who were ignored, people who were rejected, people who were told they were not enough. What made them different was not luck. What made them different was their refusal to accept the identity others created for them. At some point, they made a decision to stop asking for permission, a decision to stop seeking approval, a decision to stop allowing outside voices to control their direction. That decision changed everything. Because the moment you stop living according to other people's expectations, you begin discovering who you truly are. You begin realizing that many of the limits you believed were real existed only inside your mind. You realize that fear has been exaggerating obstacles. You realize that doubt has been shrinking possibilities. You realize that the barriers holding you back are often weaker than they appear. For years, people may have defined you by your mistakes. Maybe they reminded you of every failure. Maybe they focused on every weakness. Maybe they constantly brought up your past. But your past was never meant to become your prison. Your past is a lesson. Your past is a teacher. Your past is a chapter. It is not the entire book. The problem is that many people become trapped by old versions of themselves. They continue seeing themselves as the person they used to be. They continue carrying guilt from years ago. They continue replaying moments they cannot change. Meanwhile, life is waiting for them to move forward. Growth begins when you stop introducing yourself through your past wounds and start introducing yourself through your future vision. Because who you are becoming matters more than who you used to be. Every day presents an opportunity to rewrite your story. Every day offers a chance to make different choices. Every day provides another opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. The people who achieve extraordinary results understand something powerful. They do not spend their lives arguing with doubters. They do not waste energy trying to convince everyone. They do not chase validation. Instead, they focus on becoming undeniable. They let their actions speak. They let their work speak. They let their growth speak. Eventually, results become louder than opinions. The people who once doubted you begin noticing changes. The confidence becomes visible. The discipline becomes visible. The strength becomes visible. The focus becomes visible. The same people who once questioned your potential start wondering what happened. What happened is simple. You stopped listening to limitations. You stopped accepting labels. You stopped shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stopped allowing fear to decide your future. The version of yourself that once felt powerless begins disappearing. A stronger version takes its place. A version that understands setbacks are temporary. A version that understands failure is not final. A version that understands success belongs to those willing to keep moving despite obstacles. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through daily decisions. The decision to keep going when motivation disappears. The decision to remain disciplined when excuses appear. The decision to continue believing when evidence is limited. The decision to stay committed when progress feels slow. Small decisions repeated consistently create extraordinary outcomes. Most people underestimate the power of persistence. They look for dramatic breakthroughs. They search for instant success. They want immediate results. But greatness is usually built quietly. One day at a time, one habit at a time, one improvement at a time, one challenge at a time. The person who refuses to quit gains an advantage that cannot be measured. Because while others stop, they continue. While others complain, they improve. While others surrender, they adapt. While others wait for perfect conditions, they create opportunities. Eventually, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. The same people who once overlooked you begin paying attention. The same people who once doubted you begin questioning their assumptions. The same people who once predicted your failure begin witnessing your growth. Not because you became someone completely different, because you finally became the person you were always capable of becoming. The power was always there. The potential was always there. The ability was always there. It was simply buried beneath fear, doubt, hesitation, and the expectations of others. Once those layers begin disappearing, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing acceptance and start chasing excellence. You stop worrying about opinions and start focusing on purpose. You stop looking for shortcuts and start embracing the process. You stop waiting for the right moment and start creating it. The story people wrote about you loses its power. The labels lose their power. The criticism loses its power. The limitations lose their power. Because the strongest version of yourself is no longer asking the world who you are. The strongest version of yourself already knows.